So this is Jason Bray, and he has a caravan business and specialises in vintage caravans. How did you get started in this business?
Wow, it was 10 years ago. I was working in corporate, and I'd had enough of corporate job because it took a lot of time away from family and friends like that. So I took redundancy, and we were living in Christchurch at the time, and we took 6 weeks to travel from Christchurch to Auckland. Didn't know what to do as a job. My wife actually ended up going back to work, and I was looking at ways to have a cheap holiday. So I bought an old 1973 Alpha caravan and made it a bit modern but also retro outside, so it was red and white when we went on holiday in it.
Nice.
And I got offered, when we were on holiday, money, so I sold it. And then I thought, man, I'm going to have to do another one or something. And my wife said to me, you really enjoyed that, why don't you look at doing another one? Maybe get a shop or something. And that's how it started. So next day I hired one and had no idea what I was doing. I had nothing. I just had a 150 square metre workshop that was empty. And yeah, I just bought a caravan and started building them. I thought I was actually going to buy caravans and do them up and sell them. That was my whole business plan pretty well. And the next one I built bombed. I spent way too much money on it, and I lost thousands of dollars on it. So my wife said, why don't you start trying to get other people to bring their caravans and motorhomes and stuff in, and that's how we slowly built into doing what we do now, which is all the retro caravans that we can get. I worked for the same company for 19 years. I did my apprenticeship as a toolmaker through them, which I enjoyed. Well, I did 3 apprenticeships. I did, in the end, because I liked the engineering so much. So I did fitter welding. So I learned how to weld things so I can make chassis and all that sort of thing. And then I did fitter turning. So it means that I can build a chassis with a grinder and stuff, but I can also do the precision work, which taught me patience. And then I got an opportunity to become a team leader. And within sort of a year, I was production manager for a big part of the company. Then I went on to run the big company in Auckland, and then they asked me to go to Christchurch and fix that company. Once you are stuck in corporate, it just takes over your life. And caravans are interesting because they're made not to be taken apart. Out of anything, like a car can be taken apart, anything else can be taken apart, a caravan is not made to be taken apart. So we had to come up with ways and tools to figure out how to take caravans apart without wrecking them.
Wow.
More than anything.
So your business is in Tiaraha, which is a couple of hours south of Auckland.
Yep.
Why the move?
So about 18 months ago, we had our workshop in Auckland broken into, and they didn't just do a nice neat burglary, they decided to steal pretty well, I'd say 80% of the tools that we use to do caravans. So made tools, all the stuff that I had from when I was a toolmaker, but also they busted into the office and smashed up the office and took the computer and just wrecked all the drives and everything like that. So all our MIB was smashed, so we got behind on IID stuff and
so they were being nasty as well.
I think they were looking for cash maybe. But I mean, we're talking everything was on the floor about a foot high. So they weren't just, they weren't nice people. They were young.
Were they caught?
No, they weren't caught, but they were seen on TV, on CCTV from next door. But they never caught them. They turned up in a stolen car and all the rest of it. So after that, sort of went into a bit of depression, I guess you could say. And that lasted about 6 weeks, and I had to tell clients that I couldn't finish caravans, and we sort of fell behind slightly on the rent on the building, and we were having troubles with IID, talking to them about stuff. So we decided to close shop, and that was it. The business was, over after 7-8 years, and we didn't know what to do, to be honest. So we came down, had to have a break, so we came down to see my wife's parents, and they live in Tiaraha. And we ended up 10 days later buying the section next door.
I love it.
So we turned up down here, had no idea what to do. Yeah. I did about 20 trips with a trailer and moved my whole workshop down here on the back of a trailer, right. Doing 3 or 4 trips a day, and having a few sleeps here and there.
Fair enough.
Yep, and got down here. I didn't actually bring all the tools, or what I had left. I didn't bring it down specifically to start up doing caravans.
Yeah.
But within weeks of being down here, we didn't even have a house at that point. We were living next door and stuff like that. I started having people ring me up on my cell phone saying, you know, is there any chance of you repairing my caravan? I said, look, I'm really sorry, but I've moved there to Auckland. I'm living in Tiaraha now. And they said, that's fine, we'll bring it down to you. And I'm like, okay. So all I had was a half-round barn shed, nothing. And it was full of all sorts of farm machinery and stuff, so we had to clean it out, put up some walls, go and buy some tools, and that was us. Sold up in Auckland and moved here. 1 customer turned to 2, 2 turned to 4, 4 turned to 8, and now we have a steady stream. And
building a second shed.
Taking on a full-time employee.
Nice.
Just loving it. Yeah. Awesome. Favourite projects on hand. Definitely this one, because 1960s Lilliput, it doesn't really get much better. They're an icon of New Zealand, being built in New Zealand. And I had one, and unfortunately after the burglary, I had to sell it to pay all my debts. I actually was on Trade Me and I bought this caravan somehow, as you do. And it was in Whangamata, and I was in Auckland, so I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get this thing home? It had no drawbar, no wheels. It was sitting on blocks. So I borrowed a mate's trailer and a whole lot of 4x2s and jacks, and I went down by myself. I hadn't even told my wife, I think, I bought this thing. And I turned up and this guy said, how are you getting it home? And I said, oh, there's a trailer here. So I ended up jacking it up, and somehow I got the trailer underneath it and we strapped it, and I drove home at 40 kilometres an hour with people yelling and screaming at me. But I made it, and I stuck it in the back corner, and I slowly did it up so it was back on its wheels and stuff like that. And next minute, a Lilliput person came in and said, it's a Lilliput. And I said, what's a Lilliput? And I had no idea at this time because I was new at it, and no one really wanted to help me out. So I'd ring up places and things like that, and nobody wanted to give you any help at all. So I didn't know where to buy rubbers from. I didn't know where to buy anything, and I had to I had to figure it out by myself. And it was hard. I didn't really know what to do, but I got there, and we're now, probably one of the bigger rebuilders in New Zealand for the old retro stuff. So this one here has come in. It's a slow project. He brought it in about 3 months ago, and we are just starting to do some work on it now. But a lot of it, underneath wise, is you can see these rotten stuff and things like that. So we have to replace floorboards. This one we've had to do quite a bit of reskinning. The back part of the caravan was quite. You get a lot of electrolysis in caravans, which is aluminium rust.
Okay.
But not like cars where you can just cut out the rust and weld a piece in. You can't with aluminium. You pretty well have to replace that whole panel. But the problem is you take that panel off, and normally the wood underneath either sodden, because water is normally the catalyst to set it off. So it means it's leaked at some point. So normally if we take off a panel, you'll find all the wood behind it's rotten as well. So then we take that off, and then we find the framing's rotten. So you end up pretty well rebuilding like a whole corner of a caravan. So you've got to go backwards before you can go forwards. So this is the 1974 lightweight caravan. Quite interesting. This guy came from down by Wellington and has brought the caravan all the way up. So he did a road trip with his son and came up in this. They slept on the floor one night. It was supposed to be a quick and easy rebuild for him, just on the inside, and a tidy up on the outside. But as you can see, the sides have been replaced, and what we found as soon as we started sanding the caravan back is we just found horrendous amounts of electrolysis. So there's nothing you can do with it. The only thing you can do is pull it off and just re-skin the whole caravan. So it added about 5,000 to his budget, but he's happy because he wants it right. They like the idea of having, I'm guessing, like a modern caravan with the retro look. So this guy's got 3 kids, so we've actually taken one of the windows out of this caravan to fit in a triple bunk. So there's a bunk for each child, and then we've managed to fit in a slightly oversized double bed into the corner. So the inside's been completely stripped out on this one, and we're polystyrening the walls, and we're using the purple wiring and everything like that you're supposed to use for caravans.
What's purple wiring?
So the purple wiring is, it doesn't react with polystyrene. They have thought that the white insulation on the old wiring was impacted by the polystyrene and would eat through it or make it go brittle, so it would break. So when you're moving along in your caravan, you go over bumps and stuff, the wiring could actually break and touch the side of the caravan and electrocute you. The worst part about the lightweight caravans was their drawbar. This one's been replaced, but it's been put on but too short as well, which is not right. The problem with them was that they ran the brake line in the 7 plug. They put the wiring into the actual chassis. So what would happen when it rained or you're driving down the road is the water actually tracked in through the actual brake line or the plug and actually filled up the chassis with water, and they rusted from the inside out, and people wouldn't know until 1, they failed a warrant because there was a hole underneath, or 2, it fell off. That's the only thing I could say about the lightweight caravans is if you're looking at buying one, definitely check out the chassis, or have someone look at it. The lightweight caravan was probably the most popular caravan in the 70s. There's probably more of these types of caravans in New Zealand as well than any other type that's been built, which is quite interesting. And they range pretty well from 6 or 8 foot right up to sort of almost 30 foot, but they all look very similar to this. One of my projects that I've had for a long time, I was actually on Trade Me again. I think this was not long after my Lilliput buy. A caravan was on Trade Me and I went to look at it, and it wasn't what I wanted. It was in Pukekohe, and I saw this in a paddock in a swamp. Luckily it wasn't too deep into a swamp, and it was on like a milking farm, and I drove up the driveway and ended up talking to the guy and saying, do you want to get rid of your old caravan over there? And he's like, mate, you can have it if you can get it out. And we managed to drag it out, and from what we can tell, it's a wooden caravan. So it's a wooden hardboard caravan. All the windows, everything like that. The only thing that's not original is the door, which is a shame, but it's a barn style door. The inside, the kitchen's all there. It's a bit of a storage unit at the moment, but we found a tag in one of the cupboards from the electrical cert, and it had 1934 on it. So we know that it's an old caravan. Canvas roof, it's even got the horsehair insulation still in it. We found some gems and stuff in it, but so it's either a late 1920s or early 30s caravan. It's got to be a home build or some sort of import or something, because the workmanship on it is not just something that you'd throw together. It has to be someone who is just meticulous with their hands as a woodworker, because around the kitchen every single thing has been made, even the little trims around the roof to matching the kitchen, every single one's been handmade, and every door's got like a little brass lock and stuff like that. So this is a future to be done rebuild. So we've got it covered at the moment, and we've got to redo the whole outside. So we've got to buy all new outside wood. The frame's really good, the chassis is really good. We've done the chassis on it, and we've just covered it for now to keep the water out of it. But this will be an absolute incredible caravan when it's finished.
And thank you Alan, Manuel, Pauline, Luther, David, Laurie, William, Brays Caravans, Kevin, and all my other Patreons. Thank you guys.